On behalf of the team at Ishan, we would like to express that it's always a privilege to speak at events which are focused on the BFSI segment. Because we consciously believe that BFSI is always at the forefront of the tech adoption curve. So in the next 20 minutes, what I intend to focus on is the subject on this slide today, which is integration of SD-WAN and SASE security stack. And I would like to thank Srikanth for a good panel discussion that we just listened to, because it gives us a great segue to move into the topic that I'm going to discuss today. Why? Because digital first is a theme where SD-WAN and SASE act as great enablers, right? So, while the focus is on discussing the solution, the content is broken up into 3 stages. Stage 1, what is the perspective of a vendor towards the BFSI industry? Why is digital adoption becoming so critical today? In what context? So that is what we'll cover in section 1. Section 2 focuses on the use cases which would warrant an integration of SD-WAN plus the SASE security stack. And lastly, what is the Ishan value proposition? Why are we here talking about it? Why should you speak with us, when we come to you later during the day or afterwards? Now, let me start with a quote. Why do we say that it's a privilege for us in Ishan to speak to the BFSI industry? This quote is by a prominent US-based banker. It says that banks are to the economy what the heart is to the human body. And then it goes on to say that the presence is only realized whenever there is a crisis. Right? So this quote resonates with us, and we really feel that banks today are the most critical aspect in our economy. So when you look at the economy, there are various indicators which point towards the criticality of the BFSI segment. Now, what we have done out here is that we have laid out the details as per a PEST framework. Now, what a PEST framework is? It's political, economic, social, and technology. So politics-wise, most of the panelists have covered these points. Viksit Bharat, $5 trillion USD economy without banks, of course not possible. The JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobile initiatives, they've only provided further impetus. On the economic factors, all of us are aware about the strong GDP, the record-breaking GST collections, and the strong balance sheets that the banks are reporting. Of course, there was a lull in the December 2023 quarter, but overall, the balance sheets of the banks are getting healthier. On the social factors, the panelists spoke about increased adoption of UPI, increase in the demat accounts is what the slide talks about. 35% increase in CAGR in terms of demat accounts, a great indicator for an economy which is wanting to participate in the growth journey. Lastly, technology factors. Over yesterday and today, you've had immense number of discussions on what are the enablers, India Stack, ONDC, CBDC, and the AA framework which the regulators are working on for enabling smart credit. 5G, SATCOM, and 6G, because we are from a network technology background, these are, again, enablers for BFSI participation, and AI, ML, and IT upskilling, ending with an increased participation around data centers, which will fuel the cloud adoption. So what we understood in the previous slide was that the indicators are more than positive. They're actually encouraging digital adoption. What is the customer viewpoint? What are the customer priorities out here? There was a talk of hyper-personalization, content being there in the vernacular model by the previous panelists that we heard, and which is what is resonating out here. Ease of banking, obviously anywhere banking, banking across working hours, hyper-personalization, 24/7 availability, omni-channel presence, and sustainable financial services. Now, while putting up the slide, I did ask myself a question that do I really worry about, sustainable financial services when I'm approaching a bank? The answer was obvious, of course, not to be discussed right now on the stage. But if you look at it, the reports that I have borrowed from are from PwC, and they talk about 2030 roadmap. So by 2030, it is possible that some of us would put in a premium towards sustainable financial services, if not today. So these were the customer priorities. And after the customer priorities, we also wanted to look at whether we are relevant as a vendor to the CIO priorities. So the PEST framework did point towards a robust, BFSI industry. Consumer preferences were spelled out. What about the CIO? Are we relevant to the CIO priorities? So what we have done is that we have segregated CIO priorities into two large groups. One is customer-facing initiatives, and second is internal processes and operations. In customer-facing initiatives, digital transformation leadership through the second point, which is innovation and disruption, customer data analytics, and omni-channel strategy. Certain points out here resonate with the ease framework that the regulators are pushing in. The Department of Financial Services is pushing in for ease reforms, EASE, ease of access and service excellence, which is where omni-channel comes in, which is where hyper-personalization and customer experience comes in. And on the right-hand side, cybersecurity, risk management, business continuity, and budget optimization. We fall more or less on the right-hand side. Our offerings more or less fall on the right-hand side. Okay, so when I say our offerings fall more or less on the right-hand side, in what way? We are saying that in the next 5-10 minutes, we will be talking about SD-WAN and SASE. Why will we talk about SD-WAN and SASE, while we've got 4 different verticals ranging from networking to systems integration to cloud to cybersecurity? Why is it that we picked up SD-WAN and SASE for today? The reason is fairly simple. From the first section, we understand that digital footprints are set to increase. 80% of Indian adults are now in the mainstream banking. If you want to improve ease of access, your digital footprints are set to increase. And as a side effect, your attack surface increases, which is where security becomes important. And that is where our objective is to provide efficient, seamless, secure, and resilient connectivity infrastructure. Because without which, AI, ML, integration with third-party players through APIs, all becomes a bit futile. So while we talk about SD-WAN, I know for sure that most of you would have adopted SD-WAN, you would have experienced that, you would have had immense learnings. But for some of you who are not from the technology side of things, let me talk about triggers specifically to the BFSI segment. Now, in a branch network and in a core network, there are different types of network topologies catering to different applications, right? Now, network topologies, which are the network topologies? Mesh architecture, hub-spoke architectures, and hybrid. Now, mesh largely for transactions, hub-spoke largely for ATM transactions, and hybrid for hybrid banking. Now, each of these networks will require different type of management. They will have different KPIs. They will have different SLAs per se. Right? So network topology complexity followed by siloed management. Siloed management is increasing complexity nowadays. And then at times there is a possibility of a lack of app visibility. All of us are moving towards app first kind of architectures. Digital first is what was the topic that we started the day with, and which is where app visibility becomes important. And then suboptimal performance. The first 3 aspects would contribute to suboptimal performance, whether it is with respect to security SLA or performance SLA. Now, where does SASE come in? So the previous slide was with respect to the challenges faced on the networks, and people adopted SD-WAN. So I will not talk about SD-WAN benefits because all of us know about it. But what was the curve afterwards? In the last 4 or 5 years during COVID and following COVID, we have got work from anywhere. We have got customers who are expecting us to be there online every time. So let's start with employees. Employees are working in the office, they're working from outside the office, and the CIO office is to support all of them every time across hours and with the security SLAs in place. So that was a trigger. Now, what was the other trigger? The data center core traditionally was at the center. Now it is becoming nebulous. With multi-cloud adoption, the core is slowly moving towards the edges. So the perimeter is getting a bit diluted. And the way in which I like to put it, the perimeter is the client device. Right? So till now, SD-WAN was serving us well. But now when the perimeter is becoming the client device, when it is becoming dilute, when it is becoming nebulous, when the policy framework is getting complex, how do I design a policy for the single employee when he's outside the office and when he's inside the office? How do I do that? How do I design that? This is where Gartner felt the need of coining a term called Secure Access Service Edge. Gartner said that, okay, let's add an additional layer to the SD-WAN in terms of CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker, ZTNA, Firewall as a Service, so on and so forth. And this has to marry the SD-WAN layer. Yeah? So which is where SD-WAN crept in. And of course, the right-hand side of the slide talks about the threats. 4,400 attacks daily. And if you look at which are the largest contributors, unauthorized network access and vulnerability services. Controllable factors? Very much. Yeah? Benefits of SASE, these are self-explanatory, whatever the challenges that were specified earlier. Enhanced security control, improved network performance, if the SD-WAN is tied in well to the security network. Cost-effective multiple security solutions. Now, do I agree with that in full? No, because the jury is still out. A mature SD-WAN plus SASE deployment, we will only come to know in a couple of years' time, but out here, the parameter used is that does it prevent security breaches? Yes. And then, as a virtue of it, does it reduce penalties? The answer is yes. That is how it is cost-effective. Simplified security policy management. Obviously, because we said that SD-WAN plus SASE will cater to all the three different types of topologies that are being used by the branch, and which is where it will come in handy. Support for hybrid work, obviously, because that is what SD-WAN is supposed to do. Now, how will we buy, or when would we have bought SD-WAN? SD-WAN probably some of us would have bought 3 years back, 4 years back, 2 years back. Now we understand that SASE bhi kharidna padega. Let us at least start evaluating. So what is possible? It is possible that for SD-WAN, there was a product A, brand A, and vendor A, systems integrator A. And for SASE, there is product B and systems integrator B, bought across different time zones. Yeah? Now, these two are bought as separate products, which leads to certain issues. What are those issues? Integration complexity. Security incident in SASE, is it seamlessly transferred to SD-WAN? Is the policy configuration managed equally well in both these stacks? Just to add to the complexity, at times banks and certain institutions, even outside of the banks, have got two different silos, organization-wise. A silo, a team which is managing security only, and a team which is managing network only. So, two teams speaking to each other is also at times a challenge, not every time. Right? So, integration complexity, separate data lake, which I guess Snowflake spoke about yesterday. Compliance considerations, obviously. Security policies and traffic routing. Now, why do I mention compliance consideration in this solution stack? Because while defining policies for SD-WAN and SASE, I'll have to consider compliance policies separately because these are separate products and separate solutions. So, separate policies, compliance related. So, it increases the job at the CIO office. Yeah? Which is where we say that, this is where our product comes in. How will we resolve these challenges? So the product that we have coined internally is called Ishan Secure, and this is a managed service floated out of our tier 3 data center in Mumbai. It is in Chandivali. Now, what does this product do? It is actually a single product, SD-WAN and SASE in one product. SD-WAN and SASE in one product. So what does it do? It delivers security at the edge, single vendor SASE solution, maximize flexibility and scalability. How? What are the unique benefits? Now it supports multi-tenancy. Now what is multi-tenancy? Okay, multi-tenancy at the branch. Now in the previous generation of SD-WANs, they were built on VRF platform, virtual routing and forwarding platform, or rather it was a feature, not a platform. Now what was happening there is that there are 3 planes: data, control and management plane. So VRF used to segregate at the management plane, but the data and the control plane were not very segregated. So at the branch it was still the same traffic coming to the core. Our solution actually does the segregation at all the 3 layers. It is built on a single pass architecture. As a virtue of which we support per function topology, customization with respect to per function topology, per function application prioritization. And application prioritization in terms of at what date, at what time do you want what traffic for which application. So that granularity is frankly unbeaten in the market today. Traffic prioritization and security policy, obviously. Now, this solution is based on a service-oriented architecture built out of a single platform, which I said, SD-WAN and SASE, दोनों एक ही product हैं, और उसके अंदर services अलग-अलग बनाई गई हैं. So it is a service-oriented architecture compared to a traditional model, which is service chain-based. So one solution will give output to the other one will try to depacket that, will try to de-encrypt that, and will try to make sense out of it, and then there will be an output. Whereas out here, you just open the packet once and it goes out seamlessly. Yeah? So that is the benefit of service-oriented architecture. Efficient data flow. Now, if I have got SD-WAN of company A and SASE of company B, the user will land on SASE, the packet will be opened up for checking. Once it is done, it will again be sent to SD-WAN. There again, the de-encryption will happen. And there is a latency contribution to that. Out here, as I said, single pass architecture, no issues of latency. So in all, what we are giving is a unified solution. While the solution is unified, we will give you role-based KPIs and dashboards. So the network head will have KPIs and dashboards which he can consume, which he is gold for. The CISO will have a different set of dashboards from the same solution. And if you have a common reporting authority from a management standpoint, then he can consume a consolidated set of reports from the same solution. Yeah? So branch-wise segmentation, latency contribution, and single solution contributing to different roles. And a great level of granularity when it comes to traffic segmentation. Now, why should you talk to us? Why should you talk to Ishan? And why not others? There are plenty of other people who would be talking about these products. So the answer lies in the product portfolio that we have and the skill sets that we have. Now, SD-WAN, kaun bechega? A systems integrator, a network systems integrator. SASE, who will come to sell? A security vendor. But what about the ISP? It's all about the internet, correct? The ISP is the third agency. out here, I am the ISP. So Ishan is a Class A ISP having operations across India. We've got more than 100 offices, so I'm sure wherever you are, we have got an office near you. We've got more than 10,000 enterprise customers. And we are in business since last 23 years. Right? So I do understand how internet behaves, and I'll be able to take ownership of internet, your SD-WAN, as well as the security. I'll not say that, sir, आपको benefit इसलिए नहीं मिला क्योंकि वो ISP आपका जो है ना उसने configure ठीक से नहीं किया. No, I can't say that because I'm owning that up. And that is the theme behind coming up with a managed service portfolio. I don't want to increase your complexity. I want to reduce it, frankly. So that is the first stack that we have. We are a Class A ISP having NLD licenses, and we are spread out across India. In business since last 24 years now. Systems integration. We have done projects at 7 smart cities. We have laid out optical fiber networks for 4 cities right now. We've got revenue sharing agreements with most of them, which are ranging from 7 years to 15 years. So this is what we know. SD-WAN deployments is what we know. So that is where the systems integration play comes in. And you talk about cloud, which is where our services are delivered from the cloud. We have got a tier 3 data center is what I just mentioned in Mumbai. We've got tier 4 data centers in Gandhinagar, Gift City, where the BFSI cluster is there. And we've got facilities in Chennai as well. Last but not the least, cybersecurity is where the SASE delivery comes from. So these are the 4 verticals that we have. So that is the reason that we own the entire solution from a solution delivery perspective and from an SLA perspective. The other aspect is, okay, this is more assurance in terms of timelines, in terms of size. Okay, so in terms of size, we are 1,700 plus people. We do a revenue of around 550 odd crores. We are an EBITDA positive company right from the year of inception. So we are a bit old school when it comes to valuations, etc. We prefer profitability first. We are a positive network company today. How do we ensure that what we talk is executed well? So we are probably one of the only CMMI level 3 company which is certified for services. There are a lot of CMMI level 5 companies which are for software delivery, but we have got CMMI level 3 for services delivery. That is further assurance. Now, don't take my word for it. I'm obviously out here to speak positive about my company, but we have been awarded multiple times. So in 2024, we got an award for data innovation in data center. We got a much coveted award of CIO Choice 2024, which was for our performance in 2023, and again a data center award in the previous year. So we have been awarded, we have assurances, we have been awarded by the industry as well. And let me come to the end. Let me end the slide with a quote by our chief economic advisor, who says, I mean, this is of course not verbatim because we have changed so as to accommodate his interview in a slide. He says that to achieve India's goal of USD 5 trillion economy, the banking sector must go proportionally. Most of you would know about this. But he says that across the global banks, we just have one global bank, which is SBI, which is at number 55. So he says that we should have at least 6 to 7 global banks in the top 100, which is where he says that let the Indian banking system conquer the world, and then which is where I say that let us be your partner in that journey while you conquer the world. Thanks a lot.